Hey everyone, it's Nate here with Element Van Life. I just wanted to do my Tuesday Q&A video. I do these every other Tuesday. The way it works, if you have questions, just post them in the comments section below, and then I will answer them in the next Tuesday Q&A video. The next one will be on March 6th. Next one will be on March 6th. Let's get started. We have a lot of great questions to go over this week. First one comes from C. Murphy. They say, "Hi Nate, Element Van Life is my favorite YouTube channel." Thank you. I have a few questions for you. What did you study in college? I studied international relations and Spanish language and literature as a double major. Are you currently saving for retirement? A little bit, not really directly, but I touched upon that in a recent video, something that I'm definitely thinking about and will certainly have in the back of my mind, moving forward, absolutely. And did you consider minivans when you were looking to buy a larger car? Yes, yeah, I did. I looked at like Toyota Sienna, and that's pretty much it. Also like Ford Transit Connect and stuff, which are not really minivans, but similar. They seem more spacious than the Element, albeit less cool. Yeah, they definitely are. The Sienna has it's a little bit longer inside. You could probably set up the bed without having to move the front seats forward. So that would be nice, obviously, but I think there's a little bit less headroom, or just about the same. It's just a little bit longer, that's all. Next question comes from David. Sorry if you answered this already, but what's your water setup? How many gallons is your tank, and do you have a backup tank? What's your method for refilling the tank? So I just have a 1 gallon little water bottle that I put under there that I pick up at the grocery store usually once every 2 weeks. It's enough to get me through for like brushing my teeth and stuff for 2 weeks straight. And then I have a 1 gallon jug to catch the gray water, and then I just we'll get rid of the gray water and get a new 1 gallon bottle of water from the grocery store, and that's how I replace it. I'm going to do a video in more detail about my sink setup soon. It's probably at some point in early March. Next question comes from MizuBoy100. They say, "Hey Nate, I really like your videos." Thank you. I'm living vicariously through you. How do you decide where you'll end up next, and how do you decide when you'll leave? Is it weather-related, work availability, boredom? I'd say primarily weather-related. I'm here in New Orleans probably until it starts to get unbearably hot, which will be early May. That's pretty much what is figuring it out. But yeah, it could also be a combination of boredom or work availability. Like I left San Diego this summer because I had other stuff lined up in North Dakota for the sugar beet harvest, and then I was going to a concert up in the Northwest, so I kind of had to leave. And it's partially that, but mostly it's just to escape terrible hot weather or terribly cold weather. Next question comes from Seattle Rover 16. They say, "Hi Nate, new subscriber here. I love your channel." Thank you. I'd love to live small after college too. Right on. My questions are, do you ever get lonely on the road? Yeah, occasionally, but I am relatively introverted, so it's not so bad. I think that would be the hardest thing for me. Yeah, I mean, it's if you're an extrovert, I could see it definitely being more of a challenge. But for me, I mean, I kind of fight that just by reaching out to other people, like old friends and stuff, giving calls to them while I'm driving from place to place, and taking that time to catch up with them, and then also just really appreciating the time that I have to meet new people and really getting to know new people while traveling. There's a lot of people that travel alone, so you're bound to run into them every now and then. Also, do you get mail? If so, how do you deal with that on the road? Yes, I have an address here in New Orleans, which is kind of like my home base address, and I have a friend here, or a bunch of friends here, who can send stuff to me if I really need it. So that's how they would forward it to me. If I'm in another place for an extended period of time, I get an address there as well, and I'll use that if I'm going to be there for more than a month or two. Next question comes from Christopher 600cc. They say, "Hey, I'm new to the channel. What are your thoughts on a bigger van like an Express or like a Chevy Express or an E150 or like a Chevy Astro?" I'm definitely a fan, especially of like a 2004 or 2005 Chevy Astro. If you can find one with low miles, those are really awesome vehicles. Yeah, and then in terms of Express and E150, I don't know a whole lot about those in terms of mechanics and stuff like that. But if I was going to have to move into something else that was bigger, I would probably go with something a little bit bigger, and those would definitely be on the list to be examined for sure. Next question comes from Jerry Pritchford. He says, "I really like your videos." Thank you. When you start traveling again, have you thought about having viewer meetups? Yes, yeah, that's something that I've thought about. Once I hit the road this summer, that's definitely something that I'm thinking about doing. Absolutely. Next question comes from JPDST29. They say, now that you've been on YouTube for a while, has anyone recognized you in your travels? No, that hasn't happened yet. Maybe at some point, but not quite yet. No. Next question comes from Hall Monitor 98. They say, what's the mileage on your vehicle? It's 131,000 miles as of this morning. Next question comes from Alex Labor. What did you do for a job before you went on the road? I worked for a big company in sales as like an account manager / sales representative. Next question comes from Simon Humphreys. Have you ever been caught short? So he's basically asking about emergency bathroom situations and what I do overnight. Fortunately, I haven't really had to deal with that yet in the last year. I don't know why, but I've been lucky and haven't had to. That being said, I'm usually always near a 24-hour restroom overnight, just in case I get sick or something like that. So, for example, when I'm on the road, I'm always near a Walmart. I usually stay at like a Walmart or a 24-hour truck stop or something like that. And then if I'm stationary for a while, it's usually in a city where I learn quickly where all the 24-hour restrooms are, and I try to stay pretty close to those. I always keep that in the back of my mind. Next questions come from Miss Ash G. They say, have you seen I Am Jake? He's another YouTuber that lives in his Jeep. Yes, yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of his videos. He does a great job. I really like his channel. Next question, and this is also from her. She says, love your videos. She also is an Element owner. Right on. Thank you. My question is, have you ever thought about using a DC heating blanket that plugs into a 12-volt outlet? I bought one at a truck stop, and they definitely help for chilly nights. Yeah, I've definitely thought about those. They do use, I think, a lot of power, but maybe even just to run it for a few minutes at a time is definitely something that I'm thinking about. Maybe for next winter. I want to probably upgrade my battery. It's a little too small right now, I think, to be able to support something like that. But if I do upgrade the solar system and the battery, that's definitely something I'm going to be thinking about. And it looks like another question, elements with a second battery in the engine bay. Have you ever thought about putting one to save room in the interior? Not really, no. I'm pretty okay with the position that the battery is in right now. I think I'm going to keep it just in that general area. Definitely worth having a house battery though for camping and stuff, for sure. Definitely something to do. Next question comes from Matthew Greer. They say, how do you move around town? Do you drive everywhere? Yes, yeah, I don't have space to store a bike or anything like that, and public transit, specifically in New Orleans, is completely terrible and unreliable. So, yeah, I pretty much drive everywhere. It's not really a problem, though. I try not to move around too much to save on gas, and I don't really have to. Yeah, but pretty much every distance is going to be driving. I thought about a folding bike, but I don't really have the space for it. I think if I got a bigger van, that would be something I would think about. Next question comes from Alex. They say, do you ever wish you had a slightly larger vehicle at times? If so, what are some of the other options that you've considered? Yeah, sometimes I think about it. I mean, I'm really happy with the Element overall, but if I do move into something else, it's probably going to be a little bit larger. Ford Transit Connect, Nissan NV200, possibly like a Class B, like an older 1990s like road trek or something like that, a smaller one, or even maybe just like a larger cargo van. Something like a high top conversion 1990s like Ford E-Series cargo van or something like that would be pretty cool as well. Next question comes from Lane the 8th. They say, another great video, Nate. Thank you. I initially started following you due to you wearing your Cleveland Browns t-shirt. Then I saw you with the Brown Scully on. What's your Cleveland connection? It's kind of weird. I was a big Boston sports, like I grew up in Boston, you know, all my other teams are Boston sports teams, but when I was a kid and the Browns came back into the league, I hopped on the bandwagon to be a Browns fan like right away. I used to play with like the old like 65 Cleveland Browns with like Jim Brown and Otto Graham and stuff and like the video games, and I don't know, when they came back into the league, I became a Browns fan immediately. I have a Tim Couch jersey from that day that I still wear sometimes, and I've unfortunately stuck on that miserable bandwagon since then, but maybe one day we'll win it all. We'll see. I'm sure we will, and when we do, it'll be amazing for me. Next question comes from John S. They say, Nate, awesome videos. Keep up the great work. Anyhow, I was curious. Thank you. Anyhow, I was curious, what websites do you use to find work and camping jobs? So in terms of that part of the question, I usually use Craigslist to find work when I'm in like a certain place. That's basically been my go-to for the last like 3 or 4 jobs that I've had. And in terms of work camping, I just knew about the sugar beet harvest. That's the only work camping job I've ever done, but I already knew about it from like other YouTube videos and stuff. And then also was curious as to what editing software you use. I use Adobe Premiere Pro CS6. Next question comes from Mr. Bear 1302. What do you do about a physical address for a job? So I just talked about that a second ago, but I'll get an address in a certain area when I'm traveling to it. So I'm sorry, I was reading while I was thinking of the answer. But you know, if I'm in a certain area, I'm going to get an address in that area if I'm going to be there for a few months, and I'll use that as my address when I get a job in that area. And then I also have my other physical address, which I keep full-time as my residence or whatever here in New Orleans. Jorge Mueda says, do you ever feel lonely living this way? I just answered that question a second ago. David Dodson, Nate, when you spend time away from New Orleans, you have your mail forwarded. Okay, yeah, so same deal. I have an address here. I have friends here who can forward me my mail. I'll get another address in a different place if I'm going to be there for a couple of months and go from there. Ronald Simmons, next question says, if you haven't done so already, can you detail how you and others get internet reception while on the road? Yeah, so for me, I primarily rely on Starbucks. It is an inordinate amount of time at Starbucks to get the internet. I do spend a lot of time there. I had a hotspot for a while. I got rid of it because it was not reliable. I'm going to probably get another one when I hit the road, a Verizon hotspot, once I get back on the road in a couple of months. So yeah, that'll give me like 10 gigs. You can do like, it's like a contract style where it's like you pay as you go and you can get 10 gigs or 5 gigs for a month, and it's like 60 or 80 bucks a month or whatever. And that works out really well, as in addition to using, you know, free Wi-Fi that's available at libraries and Starbucks and stuff. Next question comes from John Barchat. They say, hi, I'm curious as to what you do for internet access on the van. So same answer to the last question, John. Next one comes from George Farnsworth. They say, are you going to Mardi Gras? Yes, yeah, I'll definitely be going to some of the parades and stuff. I don't know if I'm going to go to all of them. Once you've done Mardi Gras so many years in a row, it gets incredibly exhausting, and I've never really been like the biggest Mardi Gras fan because it's so crazy. But I'm going to try to go, particularly because I want to share it with you guys and show you guys what it's all about. Next question comes from My Collection of Video Games. They say, visiting Yellowstone National Park soon. Any recommendations? Love your videos. I own an Element as well. Right on. Thank you. In terms of Yellowstone, I only spent about 2.5 days there, and I don't think it was enough time, so I would definitely say spend as much time as you can there. I mean, obviously there are like the really famous things. I actually didn't even see, I don't remember what it's called, the hot spring that's like really colorful. I completely didn't even see that. I completely missed that. So I regret not seeing that. Would probably recommend checking it out because the pictures look incredible. You know, and there's just going around exploring, seeing things. You know, obviously the wildlife is a huge highlight, and then Old Faithful isn't really the coolest thing. It certainly is cool, but it's just, you know, it's not the most important thing to see, I don't think. There's a lot of really cool other things to see as well there. Next question comes from Aaron Yager. They say, do you work? Are you saving money to buy a house and settle down? So yes, yeah, I do. I work. I do a lot of freelance web development stuff, and then I also actually just started a new job, which I'm going to be doing for a couple of months here in New Orleans as well. And then, are you saving money to buy a house and settle down? Not really. I mean, I'm certainly saving money. I don't know if it's going to be to settle down or buy a house, maybe to buy a bigger van or a bigger RV, or possibly like a tiny house or something like that and a piece of land somewhere. But I don't know if I'm ever going to buy like a traditional mortgage or anything like that, unless it's for like an investment purpose or something. Next question comes from Jesse Stafford. Looks like we got a couple here from Jesse. They say, hey Nate, one more question for you. If you get, just wondering what you do with cooking and food storage. So my question is, do you buy food for just the day and do you store what's left over? Yeah, so I do go to the grocery store pretty frequently. So yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna cook something, usually I'll buy it like day of. I'll cook it up and then I'll store the leftovers in the fridge for a couple of days and heat those up for a couple of days and then go back and cook again. I don't usually cook like 2 different meals and then put it in the fridge because I just don't have the space to fit like 2 or 3 meals in there, in addition to like the, you know, drinks and stuff like that. So next question comes from Korean Jindo. What did you do with the removable Element back seats? They are in storage at a friend's house right now. But they're ultimately probably just going to be gotten rid of at some point. Also, is it a manual or automatic? It is an automatic. It is all-wheel drive. It is paid off, and I am not the original owner because it's a 2003 and I didn't know how to drive that far back, but I'm the second owner. Next question comes from Albie Chevis. They say, hey Nate, great videos, thank you. Some of the YouTubers are saying it's doable to live on less than $500 a month living on the road. What's your thought on that? I have a Class C and $2,000 a month, and at times it's a challenge with food, insurance, maintenance, health insurance, unexpected expenses. I feel they are misleading and they can't do it and end up homeless. My take is $500 a month is nowhere near enough for me. I mean, everybody is different. Everybody can be more frugal and everything like that. But for me to live comfortably, it's usually more like in the 12 to 1500 area at the very minimum. I do have student loans that make up a huge portion of that, but then like you said, health insurance, random miscellaneous expenses, there's always something every month that I have to buy, that I have to spend money on. So like for example, I dropped my phone and the screen cracked and it's acting up, so I had to get a new one this month, and that was $100. You know, it's like just stuff like that. It just comes up. But yeah, I agree. I mean, 500 seems, it's pretty extreme, definitely. Nomadic Nana, next question comes from them. They say, Nate, do you have a scar where the MRSA infection was? I don't think so. Maybe it'll be more apparent once I get like more tan in the summertime or something like that. But as of right now, it doesn't seem so bad. Next question comes from Sleeping Derek. Have you ever thought about getting a van like a Chevy 2500 Express and converting it? Yeah, I kind of already touched on that. Definitely something that I would consider if if the cards fell into place and it worked out, definitely. Next question comes from Javier Silva. They say, how do you maintain your weight? I lose a ton of weight when I travel. Also, buying cooked food is expensive and storing food is difficult too. Yeah, so I'm 5'9", and I'm not really sure of my weight, but I do kind of maintain it in the same area. I want to say like 150 to 160 area. And yeah, I mean, I just eat 3 meals a day. I stay very consistent with what I eat, almost to the point where my diet's pretty boring. But honestly, taking health advice from me probably isn't the best. I'm not really the healthiest eater. I definitely need to eat more vegetables and fruits and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I just make it a point to eat 3 meals a day, and I eat some snacks and stuff in between, and it seems to be working out okay. Next question comes from El Toro Lucky. What's the best thing you've eaten while on the road? I went to a sushi place in Seattle with one of my friends, Oddish, in like the Wellington, I want to say, the Wellington area of Seattle, I think it was. Yeah, I don't remember the name of it, but it is the best sushi I've ever had and was one of the coolest places that I've eaten at. Next question comes from V Scorpio. So yeah, there's been a couple of questions about this, like relationships and like sex and stuff like that in the van. I think it is pretty inappropriate, so I'm not going to address them directly, but I will talk about like dating and stuff like that, because that is something that I always wondered about before moving into the van, and it's something that people I can imagine are curious about. So in terms of dating, I do date. I do go out with girls and stuff like that. And I find that if I'm just open and honest and confident about my lifestyle, that things tend to work out okay, that they're fine. That being said, it takes effort to find the right person in this sort of a situation. And I realize that it's going to take time for me to find the right person. But I believe that if I just keep kind of doing what I love and keep doing what I'm passionate about, it'll work out in the end. Hopefully. Next question comes from Jeff K. They say, hey Nate, great videos. How do you secure your boards to your racks? How come they haven't been stolen yet? I have locking roof rack, stainless steel roof rack mechanisms on there that lock them into place. So hopefully, I think that's probably why. Next question comes from Skatem136. They say, have you ever been in a band? No, I have not. Next question comes from Filiberto Villegas. They say, hey Nate, enjoy your videos and channel. Thank you. Quick question. Out of all the states you've been to, which one did you like the most and the least? Any place you want to go but you have not yet? Thanks again and cheers. That's a good question. So I want to go to Utah. I've never been to Utah. That's at the top of my list in terms of states. There's only a couple of other states that I haven't been to. Alaska is one other one, and I would love to go to Alaska and Hawaii as well. Can't really drive to Hawaii, but Alaska is definitely in the cards at some point. And then a lot of the Canadian provinces too. I haven't really explored much of Canada, so those are on the list as well. In terms of my favorite state that I've been to, that's really tough. It's probably California. I was amazed by San Diego. I'd been there many times before, but I really loved living out there, and I definitely want to get back there at some point. And then least favorite, I don't know. There's really nothing there's really nothing that's least favorite. I don't want to like pick one out. I can't really think of one. I mean, every state that I've been to has had great things about it that I've been absolutely amazed by. I mean, everyone. Arizona, New Mexico, Montana I was blown away by, Oregon, Washington, all of these places that I visited were incredible. So it's kind of hard for me to pick least favorite. Even North Dakota and South Dakota, which surprised me a little bit because there's not really a whole lot going on there, I was amazed by. South Dakota was beautiful. Badlands was incredible. It's tough for me to pick one that's a least favorite. They're all pretty awesome and offer something really unique. All right, next question comes from Billy Loves Bongs. They say, are you from Massachusetts? I live in Cape Cod, and I just bought my first van, 2003 Dodge Ram 1500. It's already built out as a camper. Right on, right on. Yes, yeah, I am from Massachusetts. I actually grew up really close to the Cape. Next question comes from Natural Real Nomad. They say, hey Nate, if it's not too personal, can you share whether or not with over 9,000 subscribers you can make in the hundreds or less with YouTube? It's not really that much. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, thank you guys so much for your support and getting to that point. But yeah, I mean, it still isn't anything like livable or anything like that. It's going to take time before it gets to that point. And the last question comes from Joshua Morrow. They say, will you ever travel back to San Francisco this summer? I would absolutely love to. I really hope that I get back to San Francisco this summer. I don't know how it's going to work out, if it's going to be in the fall or if it's going to be not even back to the West Coast. I still haven't planned everything yet. I kind of need to see how these next 2 months go before I start getting an idea of that. But San Francisco is up there. I only spent a day there, and I really, really want to get back. Absolutely. It was an awesome city, and I would love to spend more time there. So that sums it up for all the questions, guys. The next question, the next video will be on March 6th, and that pretty much sums it up. Thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll talk to you all in the next video.